Welcome back to another episode of the Instant Celebrity Maker. Today's guest is the esteemed Mr. David Aferiat, who is the managing partner and co-founder of Trade Ideas, which helps people do what, David? Because I want to not take away the steam that you're going to supply us in order to move this engine forward today.
You bet. Our mission, our 18-year mission, it's an 18-year-old company, has really remained the same throughout. It's we help our subscribers make better decisions in the U.S. equities market.
And is it strictly allocated for equities? Do you do anything with options trading or Forex, or is it strictly?
Yeah, great question. We look at equities. We look at equity derivatives like options and ETFs and indices. Ours is a special tool that's kind of it's an enabler of decisions. I mean, oftentimes trading can be a very lonely discipline. And when it's even in a community and you're sharing, it's not always, you're still making these decisions, of course, but imagine a kind of co-pilot who can give you a sense of confidence that has information that's usually not given. I mean, everyone is Trade Ideas, even ourselves, everyone can give out an idea. It's a little bit more difficult, but more valuable, as our subscribers have found, to provide the risk management around that idea. It's easy to get in, but how do you get out? How long do you stay? What are the circumstances? Everyone's pushed you and convinced you and told you this is a great idea, get in now, but it's not always evident about when to get out. And we provide these kind of guardrails for a decision based and rooted in statistical analysis, because our secret sauce essentially is ever since 2016, a machine learning artificial intelligence that helps to optimize all the scenarios that are about to happen, and then presents to you strong probabilities as to a way to look at the market. And our value proposition is pretty simple. We help find for our subscribers the places where potential profit exists before anyone else, and in places where no one else is looking.
Well, let me just tell you, I'm going to tell you a personal story because it goes back to this directly. I worked for Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith back in 1988. And I was a stockbroker, went through the Princeton training, and we were on Quotrons back then, and then upgraded to computers at some point right in the middle of my 2-year tenure working there. It's all I was able to. Yeah, I was part of the statistic, 80% washout. But what would have been incredibly valuable is to have this co-pilot, someone that you can consult before you land the air, and sell, or before you take off and you buy.
Right.
And that would be the metaphor I would use, something like this. If you're talking about the co-pilot, all right, before you take off, before you buy into a position, and it would have been really valuable.
And it's real simple. I mean, I'm not masking behind jargon here. But when we provide an idea, we're providing, okay, look, here is the stop loss where this hypothesis fails. So at least the hard exit about this is the exit, this is where you leave. And then, we have our entry price, and then we have our profit target, which is the area where you would make your first assessment. Do I completely end this position and take my profit? Do I take the principal out and let the profits ride? Do I double down? The rest of that can come into a decision once that initial takeoff, to use your analogy, is and cruising altitude has been reached. It's then more decisions, and those are the kinds of really good trading decisions now, because you've gotten a good base, you've gotten a good initial movement from with the position, and now it becomes more of a conversation instead of a clenched fist of, oh my gosh, I've got to make every trade work here, because we all know who we're
33 years ago. Where were you 33 years ago? I could have used you guys.
So it's funny you bring up that story. And when I first started, I, like many other tech firms, in the mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, we were, on Wall Street and chasing down everybody who had the word capital in their name and wanted these big marquees like, Merrill Lynch and UBS and so forth. And what I found when I was there was that the floors were rapidly shrinking. People were, these companies were shedding people in order to, use initial kind of scanners like ours to find and just look at opportunities and look for anomalies in their book. And what came down to like maybe 200 traders to 50 that were looking at like twice the number of stocks. Today they're all gone. But even then I knew that our long-term success was not going to be trying to find a Merrill Lynch to put on our website as a marquee kind of partner. Just it wasn't happening. And I saw way too many other companies, on the highway of competition just roll over and crash and burning hulks on the, on the side of the road. So what we did is we decided to go right to the individual retail, trader, the active retail trader. And in that, we found a huge laboratory of innovation, and it wound up being a much, much smoother ride for us in catering to them, because their needs were great. The informational disadvantage that they were up against was enormous. And so I boast, I love to cook, and I love to have people over for shared moments where those are those little slices of life that really matter most. So I welcome my home, and I invite, and I surround myself with foodies and chefs, and love to bring people in.
That's great. And what is your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment is likely the solace I feel from my family, particularly my wife, who started it all. We're happily married for 20 years and have two beautiful girls. And I would say that I won her over with cooking, and she's
gosh, that's so true. That works. Yeah,
it works. It works.
You go
folks.
through the
it
stomach,
works.
you get to the heart.
Listen, I'm going to put all of this that we're talking about aside, and I will talk right to you and your visitors. I will say to you simply this: in winning a woman's heart through her stomach, you don't have to start with the most expansive, incredible, elaborate meal. Learn something simple like how to make your own aioli, and then put it on a vegetable here, salt and pepper it there, a squeeze of lemon, done. Look up aioli, find a recipe that you like. There's 1,000 variations of it. Drizzle a little bit on steamed broccoli, salt, pepper, squeeze of lemon, done.
Yeah.
And now back to our regular programming.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. What do you wish you had known when you started out? And you can answer this any way you like. There's a later question that I'm going to ask, but let's just use it in general terms.
I mean, that's a really good question. And here's one thing I don't believe in. I don't believe in like going in the back, living in the past. You can learn from it, if you visit, but get out, stamp your passport and move on. I don't shift my life either, anxious of the future. I really try to live in the present. So when you ask me that question about what could have been, the journey has been very rewarding. And if you can look at new problems that, you survived one day, you survived 1 year, congratulations, you lived to tell another. Okay. So if you approach it with some of what's been working in the past that you can carry on, but if you have a kind of constant beginner's mind, you can look at problems to say, okay, in this situation that I'm in right now, given what's been and where we are right now, how are we going to operate? And it's not something that doesn't really translate well to like, okay, well, great, what do I do with that? But I simply say that if you surround yourself with good people, as we have grown by taking into account certainly people that, with a mission and a purpose and a culture that we've built at Trade Ideas. We attract people, and they don't leave. We have a strong team that's been with us for many years, and every new person that we bring on feels the culture, quickly adapts to what we need from them. And sometimes that's not always where they started. For instance, we hire a lot from our support, and they then wind up finding different projects within the company that need the attention that they have skills in. So a support person might wind up being our liaison between development and customer feedback, and then create this whole, log and case priority management system, using software. And we're like, this is fantastic. So you get to solve the problems that you have right now, and they qualify you to then solve the other ones in the future.
Okay, great. And what are you curious about right now? Again, great latitude in your response.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious about how people, I'm really curious about how people are modifying their wellness and self-care routine. Trading for a lot of our subscribers is not the end. It's the means to another end in their lives. And I am continually shocked or pleased and touched by some of these stories. We have, a photographer in Florida who supplements his seasonal photography, weddings and so forth, jobs, with an ability to remain and stay engaged in the market thanks to our tool. And then seeing that little slice of his life and what he does, outside of his first job and love of photography is trading to help enable that is thrilling. But I'm also kind of interested to see about how people, follow their passions. That's also part of a self-care and wellness routine. Because if you are not following your path, your passion, you are kind of grinding a bit on your wellness and overall well-being.
Okay. And what's something you have failed at? I'm curious about your reply here because this paves the way.
I fail every day.
Good man. Good man. I applaud your failures.
Yeah, I fail every day. And what are you going to do? Again, you live, you get through, you get through the day with a workout. Did you work out? Did you eat well? Did you surround yourself with people that, love you and that you love? Okay. So you failed. Let's go at it another day. Try not to repeat.
I write quotes down. Let me just share this with you, David. I've not heard that response yet. And because it's always interesting, I take notes, usually 2 or 3 quotes or something of interest with every guest. And I wrote down, I fail every day. That is a great reply because through failure translates to learning and improving.
Yeah.
No pain, no gain. You can't get through. You can't have the 6-pack unless you endure some discomfort. Got to do some side bends or what have you. So yeah, it's very good. Now, my favorite question of all, I ask this in every interview. I certainly flex my questions based on the interviewee. If you were somebody who is passed on, is no longer with us, if you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would you choose and why?
Historical figure that you and I would know, or
you can talk about this person. I mean, you can go back to Confucius if you want, or whomever. But they are no longer living.
Right. Let's see. I would have to say, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having a conversation with my grandfather, who passed away when I was about 23 years old, but who taught me first about how to trade, how to plot graphs of stocks. And he was, in hindsight, he was not that good of an investor or trader, or I should say trader. He invested well, but he was the first one to teach me, X and O and pivot charts and technicals. Exactly. So in a sense, he was way before his time. And being French, I would love to. I feel a stronger connection to Napoleon than I do like Lafayette or someone like that. But I would like to either meet Napoleon or Molière, the English version of Shakespeare, the French version of Shakespeare.
Okay. And now let's bring it a little more current. Who's been your most important professional mentor? And this person can be alive.
Sure. I would say there's a gentleman who I've spoken with on several occasions at key moments, in my life, in my recent entrepreneurial journey, who is an astounding human being. He's an octogenarian. His name is Warren Rustin. And he lives in Idaho in a ranch with his family, 6 children, I believe, or 5 or 6 that are all live close around him. But he, at 29, served as the chief of staff to Gerald Ford in the White House.
Oh, wow.
He's an accomplished CEO 3 or 4 times over. And the man brings a wealth of experience. And one of the things he taught me was, have a set of, have a kind of North Star and compass epitomized by a set of values that you believe in, that you also want your family to follow, to help with decisions when, especially for your children, when you're not around and they have to filter through life. What are they going to filter life through? So on a car ride once to Florida from where I live in Atlanta, trapped in the car with no place to go and escape, we had a deep and rich family conversation about what are our family values, what do we stand for, and how, if we were to turn this into a coat of arms, what emblems or graphical symbols would we look as icons to represent and put on this shield, on this coat of arms that represent those values. And it was one of the best engaging conversations, and one that I kind of pull out and I did this for trade ideas as well. Not the same, of course, but we went through what are our culture and what are our values. And in the same way, part of the job is to weave through everything that you experience through these filters, so that employees or my family can kind of understand where we're coming from and how to make a decision going forward.
Well, that's impressive. And I wrote that one down also, just so you know. I'm on number 2 takeaway. If you could go back to an 18-year-old David, what would be one piece of advice you would tell the younger you? I'm going to assume you're older than 18. So there we go.
Sure. I would say just dream bigger.
Okay. That's easy. All right. Dream bigger. And you have goals. You're still motivated. I know you've got another motivation beyond the family. You have your family, you have your business life. And what is your plan to achieve? Let's say goals. I don't want to go out 5-10 years. I think that's too much today. The pandemic shifted everything with a lot of goal planning. So let's just say 2 years out. What's your plan to achieve your immediate goals? I'll say immediate within 2 years.
In 2 years' time, we'll have I'll be, God willing, I will be, with one less child living in the house. But when I say child, I'll have launched an adult. Within 2 years, we will have launched an adult, and
Okay.
and at the same time, a second business that I am lifting off the ground will achieve wild success and climb in revenues, and afford a ability for me to frankly play around and work on the business instead of currently working in it.
Michael Gerber. Yep, I got it. Yeah, so that's okay. Well, that's good. And how do you overcome a challenge? Because I know in 18 years with trading ideas, you've had to have had plenty of challenges. How do you handle them? Or even personal ones?
Sure. You need a net. You need a network, a network. And so, like, the first guttural response to a challenge like that is for me making sure that perspective, and the way you find perspective for me is wring myself out, do a workout, do some, keep that healthy wellness routine going. Don't sacrifice that no matter what happens. And that clears the head junk, creates better, head space, clears the toxins literally from your body. And then take those first steps after that challenge by sharing with a peer network, sharing with a group of individuals that you have around you that you necessarily can't share with a spouse, or you can't share with even a business partner, and you certainly can't share with an employee, but that you need to not necessarily. I mean, when I do this with my network, we don't share it. We don't share in order to get advice. We share in order to have that receiving network that I have receive the story, receive the anguish, or receive the challenge, and look at it not as something to solve, but like, what's your emotional state, and what are you going through? And here's some stories that I can share back to you that aren't necessarily advice. They're stories, and then I glean what I can from them. They could be a story about the last time I felt in this emotional way and how I dealt with it, or it could be a similar business or personal or family problem that I'm sharing at the moment, that they then share. And then I'm left with two things: the story, which stays with me longer than any piece of advice, and two, the connection that we've deepened with the, among us, as peers in this network. And I'm specifically talking about a network that I belong to that has been quite helpful.
do you want to keep, is that private or something you want to share?
Sure. No, it's called Entrepreneurs Organization, EO.
Oh, EO. Okay. I didn't know if it was something like tech, because I used to belong to tech a long time ago. You know what tech is?
I don't.
Vistage. You've heard of Vistage?
Yes.
Okay. That's same company. They had changed the name. Yeah. I was a member of that years ago when I owned an agency. So, okay. Very, very good. So I wrote down network, make sure your perspective is clear. And that's, rinse. I thought that was a very good, sage-worthy advice. So if you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about?
If I had to write a book tomorrow, I laugh because I actually finished a book. It's not really a book; it's more like a course, and that I now I'm having a team just finished the post-production of. But the course is a wine appreciation course. Like I said, I love food. The best pairing with food and family and friends is, of course, wine. And as I said, I don't know if I said, I guess, but I'm a French-American cultural background.
Okay.
Literally, I'm a dual citizen, and most of my life I've spent weaving these two cultures back together again.
And you speak it?
I do. I'm fluent. My children are fluent in it as well.
Fantastic.
My wife is American, but we've had in my children's youth a series of au pairs who have lived with us, all from France, and that's helped me reconnect as well. But I was also the French-American president of the French-American Chamber of Commerce for the Southeast here in the U.S. And as I said, weaving these two cultures together has always been a theme in my life. And during COVID, we had one of our best years at Trade Ideas, but I started following some additional, passions. And one of them was to get out of me, as this other company recognized, all this knowledge I have about wine without the certificates or jargon. I'm not a sommelier. I'm not a WSET. And so I'm not going to throw you fermentation rates and exotic yeast, samples in wine and malolactic and all that. But instead, I just talk from the heart about how to enjoy and appreciate wine. And I walk through a framework, a 7-step little framework that not only helps you understand the knowledge that I give in the course, but then every other new piece of knowledge you gain in the future about where and how to categorize that.
Okay, great. And what's one question you wish I'd asked? Now's your opportunity to ask. I mean, it can be why you do what you do, or what are you most passionate about today? Something along those lines, or something else.
Yeah, I liked your question about, about failure. And, I am down on myself sometimes, and about how I always want to kind of show up for my relationships. And sometimes, I don't. And I recently I've looked at what's happened, in my life with Trade Ideas and with the pandemic, as well. I mean, especially coming out of the pandemic, has been a kind of maybe an increased cycle of activity. And so I've kind of felt it in a way. I just feel like things are speeding up, perhaps, more quickly than they should. And so it's a struggle, love late, for me to kind of slow down, keep with that exercise and wellness routine, but have a sense of really stay in the present. That's a challenge for me. I mean, I kind of say it, but it's not lip service. It really is. How can I slow down and not be in the future anticipating what's coming, and instead be very present, enjoy this moment with you, and enjoy the next as well when it comes.
Okay. Great. And how do you promote your personal and company brand? Let's just focus on, I would say mostly company at this point, a little bit of you with Trade Ideas.
Yeah. I promote it with these kinds of conversations. We have a varied, a myriad of channels that we promote the Trade Ideas through. One of the best ways you can find out about Trade Ideas is something we give away for free. If you visit the website trade-ideas.com, we give you a trade of the week for free. And it comes from this machine learning AI entity that we call Holly. And it's actually mixed with some of our members on the team who look at the list that's produced and kind of pick, for thematic reasons or for otherwise among what that set is. And we publish this. And as I said, it comes out with an entry price, a stop, an exit price or stop loss where the thesis fails, and a profit target. And sometimes it triggers, sometimes it doesn't, but it's an excellent little nugget of information, and it's a taste of what we provide. And then from there, you can even join our free trading room and the like. So that starts the journey of how you get to know trade ideas and get to know us as a company and the different various contributors and team members of Trade Ideas. And then for myself, I really promote my story through my passions, of which Trade Ideas is one, and Wine Appreciation, as I mentioned, is another. And through this network of really helping other leaders with my stories and gaining what I can from their stories as well within EO.
Okay. And how can I support you?
It's very kind, Mitch.
I've got a few dollars in my pocket. Do you need some cash? Okay.
I how you can support me by following your passions. It seems like you have in the past a kind of interest in trading, and
Yes.
We would love to help rekindle that. Sometimes it's good to live a little nostalgia and rekindle things that may have been put off. But I think you'll find how much the world has changed from when you were dabbling in the 80s to where we are now. I mean, it's
a different world. It's so different. I mean, we sent things up in a tube up to the wire room for the trades with their physical.
And so when I go on the floor of the exchange, it used to be like literally like tons and tons of paper order tickets on the floor that you had to wade through knee high, waist high. Now the only paper on the floor are like, Chick-fil-A wrappers and fast food wrappers. It's crazy.
It's changed. It's evolved for the better. I mean, it's more efficient today, certainly.
It still has its challenges.
Yeah. What would you say about your guest experience on the show today?
Oh, Mitch, you've been an excellent host, very generous with your time and your platform, and I appreciate that very much. And I thank you, and I thank your listeners for entertaining a little bit of their time with me and us. So much gratitude.
And what is your final word?
Confidence.
Oh, okay.
Live it, seek it, nurture it.
All right. Well, David, you've been a great guest. And
Thank
I have 3 gems that I wrote down. I
Oh,
fail
boy.
every day. Have your Northern Star with values, and your family will follow them. And then network, make your perspective is clear, and that enables a dose of dopamine. Was my side note. Those are my key takeaways from you. And David, you've been a great guest, and I look forward to being able to have you as a guest again. Thank you for your time.